As Australia's third largest and fastest growing regional economy, Western Sydney is an engine room of economic development that is critical to the overall growth of Australia's innovation ecosystem. It delivers the potential to leverage the wide range of infrastructure development and other investment that is occurring through major projects such as the Western Sydney Airport and Aerotropolis and the range of innovation precinct developments. These developments offer an excellent platform to support local tech startup capability, especially in the PropTech space. To unpack the future of PropTech innovation and what this could mean for Western Sydney, I'd like to welcome the following members to join me on this panel. First, I'd like to introduce Liz Dibb, who is the Western City District Commissioner at Greater Sydney Commission. She's also the Deputy Chancellor of Western Sydney University and Chair of its Audit and Risk Committee, Chairman of United Way Australia and Governor of the Centenary Institute of Cancer Medicine and Cell Biology. Our second panel member is Jamie Pride, our entrepreneur in residence at Western Sydney University Launchpad. He's also a partner at Korn Ferry, a former venture capitalist and best-selling author of Unicorn Tears. He has more than 20 years leadership and consulting experience with international technology and digital media organisations, including leading realestate.com.au as their CEO. Our third panel member is Maureen Wade. Maureen is the Manager of Infrastructure and Innovation for Landcom. Her role includes coordination for infrastructure delivery and promoting innovation across Landcom's development portfolio. Maureen also leads Landcom's strategic alliance with Western Sydney University's Launchpad. Thank you, panel members, for being here at Launchpad Penrith and on this panel today. Jamie, I'd like to start with you. We've just seen a range of great PropTech ideas pitched by our Urban Futures cohort, covering engagement platforms, intelligent planning tools, smart sustainability products, VR and others. Where do you think some of the strongest market opportunities are for emerging startups in the PropTech space right now?
Thanks, Beck. Look, I think in a post-COVID environment, there's a huge amount of opportunity, especially if I look at construction and capital works projects. So if you think about what's going to happen from a government investment standpoint, and generally I think you're going to see substantial capital works investment, both in Australia and abroad. And so I think that property tech startups that address that particular segment of the market, I think are going to do really well. I also think sustainability. Sustainability has been a theme for many, many years, and even more so. So, we've seen some startups as part of this cohort that are focused on, water treatment and water reuse, and I think that those themes will continue to be, very popular over the coming months.
Amazing, and I know sustainability is a big focus for Landcom. So that might just lead me to the next question from Maureen. You lead innovation for Landcom, the State Government Property Development Corporation, and you have a long planning and development background. How do you think the role of startups is changing the future of the property industry?
I think there's a real appetite for change within our organisation and certainly within the industry. I think the startups really can help energise what we do, to help us think about doing things differently. Already we've had a great deal of interest from within the organisation. People are really interested. It makes us ask questions and it makes us want to do things differently. So I think it's just really a fantastic opportunity for the industry to embrace the startup community.
Amazing. You've had first-hand experience in the Urban Futures program. Can you think of any of the startup in that program where you see a real opportunity with Landcom?
Look, I think they nearly all have opportunities. The hologram idea was completely new to me, but I think, for development managers, if they can sit in a room and watch construction activity going on via a hologram, it's a whole new world for us. I think some of the platforms that Jamie referred to for program management, what we really need in the industry is visibility. We're trying to coordinate a lot of activities, things go wrong. We need to be able to problem solve. We've got visibility on information and there's so much power in the information. We gather a lot of information. We need to be able to use that to better what we do, to inform our consultants, our contractors, the community that we develop for. So, certainly in the sustainability space, I think Star Water, for example, those people in Star Water have a great depth of experience and industry knowledge. And I think, bringing that into the startup environment, we really need to try and embrace that.
Liz, your role involves a massive job in planning and supporting the development of a large part of Western Sydney. What sort of opportunities do high growth areas such as Western Sydney offer for PropTech startups, and how can they best get engaged?
So look, it is a pretty exciting place to be, Western Sydney. There's a lot going on, and I guess the key themes in our planning at the Commission and through government are the ideas of the 30-minute city, a really sustainable city, livable, productive, places where you can live, work and play. Sustainability is a big theme. So there's so much construction going on and infrastructure that's going to connect this city. We're looking at, of course, of themes of local centres, the metropolitan cluster cities. So the overarching theme in all of that is how we make the Western City really the smart city of the future, that city that leapfrogs Sydney to a new level. And I think in that context, there's just so much opportunity for the startup community and the accelerator community and these sort of programs to really embrace, let's face it, what is one of the biggest industries across Western Sydney. So I think it's a huge opportunity. It certainly fits with the government vision and certainly the Commission's vision for Western Sydney. So a huge opportunity. I think also in the post-COVID world, you know, local procurement is getting a lot more airplay, and I think we certainly know we have to be self-sustaining as best we can, and I think that provides a really, you know, wonderful opportunity as we move to what I think the university and we all know can be an incredible Western economic corridor and most importantly a Western innovation corridor. So it's a huge opportunity for us and for the construction industry right now.
Amazing. So we've talked a little bit about the opportunities. So Jamie, what are some of the challenges you see for the PropTech sector in Australia? Do we have any niche market areas we could focus on to develop strong global opportunities?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think, you know, we're going into a reasonably strong economic downturn. I think we can all sort of assume that's going to happen. Property tech spans a very broad range of subsectors. I think real estate will suffer. So if you think about, you know, residential real estate will certainly, I think, have some level of depression around, you know, consumer sentiment and people losing their jobs. I think commercial real estate is going to struggle as people start to look at new ways of working and looking at working from home as a choice rather than as a necessity. And I think, though, that presents an opportunity. So if you think about built environment visualization, if you think about 3D fly-throughs, you know, VR experiences where people don't necessarily want to travel to view property, for example, but they may want to look at, you know, commercial real estate at a distance. I think there's opportunities for people to look at, you know, some of those ways of working and how that interferes with, you know, potential, you know, investment plans around commercial property and, you know, what we can do in that space. I think Australia also has a very, very strong sustainability you know, set of credentials, and so there are a couple of startups in this cohort, for example, that focus on solar energy and looking at how people can increase their rental yields for their commercial properties by installing solar panels, for example. So, look, I think that, you know, as the cliche goes, in every crisis there's an opportunity, and I think we're going to see some structural changes. And, you know, I think that the interesting thing about startups is that they are adaptable and flexible, you know, and they can pivot to meet, you know, changing market conditions, which I think is, you know, part of the beauty of working in this program.
Awesome. So construction is an area that we touched on a little bit. Maureen, construction is an area we've seen needing more innovation for a long time. Do you see any parts of construction in either residential or commercial building programs that could benefit more from focusing on engaging with the startup sector?
The startup sector, I think, offers the construction industry endless possibilities. We hope through this program, and hopefully more to come, that we will get the construction industry more and more interested in engaging with startups so that we can help leverage these startups. Look, it's about efficiency and coordination, and it's very much about information. So if you can use technology to present information differently, real-time information that improves the efficiency and the coordination in construction, that's where the bonuses will be in engaging with startups. I also think, you know, the technology around virtual reality, holograms, engaging in that space, you know, we should be able to improve construction and I think improve problem solving. One of the big areas in our industry is infrastructure coordination. So if we have platforms where we can see what's happening with the infrastructure, engage with the constructors, and the consultants and others more readily with real-time information, I think the industry would benefit enormously. The other thing is I think construction's fairly traditional, and the startup community, I hope, would energise the industry and attract younger people and a lot of tech-savvy people into the industry, and that in itself will infect the industry. And it's hard to move some of these industries that have been around for a long time doing things the same way. Well, we can't continue to do things the same way. We have to be prepared to fail and experiment, but be prepared to do things differently.
Liz, you talked about the opportunities of smart cities. Do you think the government and the private sector are tapping into startups enough? And if not, how can the PropTech sector in Australia demonstrate their value and break into major development opportunities such as the Western Sydney Airport and the Aerotropolis?
Look, I think there's always room to do more. I think definitely government has some good programs in place. So on the major infrastructure projects like the airport, which is just really life-changing for Western Sydney. The metro's just been announced through to St Mary's from the airport. On top of that, many other infrastructure projects going on, including the Aerotropolis. You can already feel an ecosystem developing of, advanced technologies, open data sets, the need to gather data, think about communities. So what I would say is I think there are programs underway, certainly through the City Deal. There is a very strong commitment to the Western Parkland City being that digital enabled and smart city, and already there's been a big program through Simon Hunter's group in government. So I would really encourage the startups and small companies to tap into some of the government initiatives that are underway around that. So there's certainly the appetite. Similarly, I would encourage engagement with local government, because local government really has a great need for really advanced technologies, smart ideas to improve their systems and their work. And so there's definitely that appetite to be looking more local and to local businesses. In relation to the private sector, I think, Maureen and Jamie have touched on that. I think most definitely anything that adds value to what, let's face it, is a complex system. It is a complex system, planning, construction, property, and there's an appetite from the community for that sustainability, zero carbon, how are we going to live sustainably. I think any company that can embrace those sort of meta themes and show how they're adding value to a private large company will, to Jamie's point, be very well received. So, yeah, it's an exciting opportunity at the moment. Yep.
So, Jamie, how can startups best demonstrate value for enterprise customers?
Thanks, Beck. Look, one of the things we've really emphasised in this program is understanding your customer and creating a really strong value proposition. And I think, from my perspective, that's the essence of a really good startup. One of the advantages, I think, of this particular cohort is that most of the founders, if not all of them, come from some background in the industry. And so they're scratching an itch that they've seen, or a problem they've seen as part of their previous experience. And so for me, that creates a really, really strong customer centricity in a particular value proposition. And so, I think to answer your question, it's very much around orientating everything you do about solving a very specific, customer problem. It's not really about technology, and a lot of, the startups in this cohort are, very flashy in terms of they've got, great visualization or they've got some really good technology, but most of them orientated around solving a really strong and relevant customer problem. And I think that's the essence of all good startups, to be honest.
So, Maureen, how is Lancome demonstrating leadership in the property industry?
Lancome's got a history of innovation, really, and showing leadership. We, at the moment, are engaging on a range of demonstration projects designed to lead the industry in terms of affordable housing. So some of those include repurposing of existing buildings, rethinking the urban design components to get a higher yield, a different product, and to really transform some of the streetscape so that in these communities people can enjoy the street. And that includes a lot of different changes to the way we look at landscaping and so on. And obviously, as we go forward with the technology around solar and water reuse, permeable pavements, permeable surfaces, I think we can make these demonstration projects highlight new initiatives in terms of sustainability, particularly with water and energy.
Thanks, Maureen. Finally, Liz, how can we best build a thriving ecosystem for PropTech startups in Western Sydney?
Yeah, well, it's a great time to do that. I think if we look at the development of Sydney and really our focus on Sydney as three great cities, you know, you look at Parramatta and the central city and the development and the companies that are there now, and already you can feel the opportunity for a great ecosystem there of universities, TAFE, big companies to collaborate to support the startup ecosystem there. But beyond there, certainly as you go further west into the Parkland City, it really is an environment where you've got 8 councils working together, you've got strong state and federal collaboration and focus, and you've got major infrastructure, you've got greenfields, you've got brownfields. I honestly can't think of a better place to use as a launchpad or to build an ecosystem of collaboration for the startup community. I'm a big advocate and fan for it, and I think if we're genuine about our creating an innovation corridor in the West, we have to push this, and property is a great place to start. Already we're well underway on health and ed, on some of the major sectors that are coming. You would have seen the CSIRO announcement relocating to the Aerotropolis. So it's an area that is ripe for this opportunity, and you will certainly find universities, TAFE, community members, local councils, state government and others, you know, ready and willing to participate in those ecosystems which build that collaborative effort, and no doubt the private sector. So it's a great environment to be in. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, panel members, for your generous time and insights today.
Thank you. Thanks, Beck. Thanks to Launchpad and everyone.